Doc, I want to get your take on this Charlotte situation. And I know you're not directly involved in it, but just as an observer, and I did read your book, I've been a fan of yours for some time, and you always speak truth to power. I can't figure out, help me understand, what is Black Lives Matter rioting about right now in Charlotte?
Yeah, that's just subgroup, right? Some of these radical groups that are funded out of the George Soros pot of money and just some confused people. And I'll just contrast that with, I was in the prison in Chesterfield the other day with Sheriff Carl Leonard, who's got a nationally known program right now. I was in the jail with 40 heroin addicts who have been convicted of serious crimes. And these guys, you should have heard these guys on their what they want to see out of education and what they want to see out of the government. And they told me, you got to get the Bible back in the classroom and religion back in the classroom so my kids and grandkids don't end up like me. And they said, I don't have any school counselor who cares about me as a person. All they do is talk about SOL test scores and education. I was never taught about what's good for me and my vision for a life or what I'm going to do in business or anything. So these guys, just common sense, and the Democrat policy in education is holding back an entire generation from being successful. And then you end up with this racial tension when your school system, which is funded, right? We fully fund these schools, $12,000 per person per year for 13 years. And we're teaching them about isosceles triangles, but we're not giving them any hope. And some of the guys said, I never got ethics. I was never taught what was good versus bad in life in the public school system. And so it's just an indictment, right? It's like from the mouth of babes. These guys have just been decimated. Their lives are just crushed, and they only know to speak the truth now. They're having a spiritual awakenings because they're looking for some hope. And so that there's some good news out there to contrast against this racial tension, but we got to get some policies in this country that make sense for everybody.
And so what you're saying is, because you look at the Charlotte riots, allegedly a black officer killed a black male. The cops are saying that he had a gun. The others are saying he didn't have a gun. He had a book. But I don't know what this has to do. And what they're saying is it's just institutional racism. That's what Obama's saying, and that's what Hillary Clinton is basically inferring. But, I mean, if you're a police officer now and somebody's coming at you with something, what do they expect him to do? Stand there?
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, and the details don't matter, right? You have a culture which is just boiling over. And so it doesn't matter. It's not about rationality. There is institutional racism. And if Obama and Hillary want to talk about institutionalized racism, I just mentioned the source of it. It's their own policies. That's where the institutional racism is, right? When you don't tell people what is ethically good and bad, right? If you cannot even define what a morally good life is anymore, and you block the Bible and you block the Judeo-Christian tradition and you block the Baptist church, which is fundamental in the African-American community, from being the voice of power, and the only hope you give is a broken federal system of government, right? I mean, government has never been, I hope everyone agrees with me, right, that the federal government is not the educator of your child on these moral issues. And so that's what's at stake, right? Martin Luther King, I wrote in my book, right, it's kind of the end of the Western line. After him, we don't have any nationally prominent philosophers or theologians out there promoting the Judeo-Christian tradition in the African-American community, in our own, in the across the board in education.